Moto One Podcast Network. Hey everybody, it's your favorite turd junkie, and I'm gonna tell you a tale tonight, or today, or whenever it is. I already started this off terribly. We're gonna talk today, tales from the road, and much, much more on this episode, number 365 from Creative Writing. If you can listen to one episode a day for your miserable life, you're at 365 now, baby.
See if this will do a wheelie.
The views and opinions of the participants of the Creative Writing Motorcycle Podcast are those of the participants and do not reflect the policy, position, or opinions of the Creative Writing Moto One Podcast Network or any of their affiliates. Moto One made us say that, by the way. Enjoy the show.
Enjoy the show, Bucktooth Bandit, and anybody else out here that is a Bucktooth Bandit. Can I hear you whistle through your buck teeth? Oh, that sounded great. Hey, welcome to episode 365 of Creative Writing. We are here to talk about tales from the road and to tell you that you're going to hear some tales from the road. So if you're not down with that, why don't you turn this off? No, don't turn it off right now. Just listen to it and enjoy what we have to tell you. What can I say? Let me crack open a beer real quick and let me pause it real quick. All right, Mom and Dad, I have cracked open an Easy Rider, a tasty malt beverage it's a light American lager actually from Wisconsin. And but the optics would have you believe it's from like Wyoming or something. There's some mountains. Even the barcode is a mountain range. I don't think that there's mountains in Wisconsin. Maybe the Driftless Zone. We should do a episode on the Driftless Zone. But this was beveraged in Juneshny. Is that right? Juneshny? Oh no, La Crosse. It's from La Crosse, Wisconsin. So if you're driving La Crosse, Wisconsin, all right. Anyways, welcome to episode 365. Should I just record this whole bit over again? Your wheel crumbles through the high mountain desert. Inland California. Far from the oceans and overlooking the desert floor below. You cruise through the mountain town of Guillermo. Spanish for barren valley, Guillermo offers little but solace and peace from the goings-on in the surrounding cities. An hour east of LA and just as far northwest from the glaring desert below, you ride through this beautiful mountain city on your way to camp with two of the dumbest assholes motorcycling has ever known. And no, that's not me. This is from me. I'm talking about what I did this weekend. Guillermo, it really is Spanish for barren valley, and it really is a barren scrub forest butted up against the hills of the southern Sierra Nevadas. I don't know, is that the southern Sierra Nevada? I think it's the San Gabriels. Whatever. It's whatever mountains are here in Los Angeles County. Devil's Punch Bowl and a Benedictine monastery. A Eggs Benedict monastery? A monastery, guys, where monks live. This is the only things out here in this desolate land aside from Mother Nature herself in all of her naked glory. That's right, you get to see Mother Nature naked out here in this rugged landscape. Texas cattle ranchers wish they could see hills and scrub this beautiful. People from Arizona all the way to Alabama wish the temperate climate and the beautiful hills and valleys were this close for their partaking. But no, my good soldiers, it is just I and two other ridiculous fools that ventured into the surrounding hillsides of Guillermo. We're going to be talking about that on this episode of Creating, but first of Creating. We'll be talking about that on Creating. I just opened this beer a little bit ago, and it hasn't been that long since I've been drinking. You think I would have hammered a case of them? Cut this music, Tobor. All right. Hey, Tobor's in the booth tonight, but he is not. He's not mic'd up. We don't have somebody broke. I swear to God, we respect this office like it's our own, and other people come in here all over the LA area and just. They let the interns talk on here, and the first thing an intern does when they talk on a microphone is it just falls apart. It's like letting an ugly person look at a mirror at a fashion show. Everything goes sideways. You should never let it do it. Never take bananas on a boat, and never say you've cloned dire wolves when in fact you haven't. All right, let's get into this week's show. Tales from the Road, episode 365 from Creative Writing. It's your boy Junk. Tobor is here with me in the sound booth running things back there, making sure the ones or twos are hot off the press and doing, from what I understand, some work on the soundboard. Let's hit it, Tobor. All right, that's good enough. I understand. That's Tobor's way of telling me he loves me. Yeah, I know. That means he really loves me. So yeah, let's see. We got some Tales from the Road this episode. We're going to get into. Let's just get into the show. I kind of wanted to give you a rundown, but let's just get into the show. We've got tons of stuff coming up. Let's get right into it with this week's Word of the Week. Tobor, do we have Word of the Week music? He's shaking his head at me through the glass. We don't. Well, let's just get into this week's Word of the Week. This week's Word of the Week is Tobor. Give it to me. The drum roll. I love when Tobor rolls that drum roll like that. All right, Tobor, stop, please. It is drawing, as in drawing, as if you are a creative writer. You're creative, you like to draw. If you're speak Spanish, it's dibujar. It's drawing, dibujar, drawing. And I felt like Dora there for a hot second. I look like Dora pretty much. If Dora was green and bald. Let's see. Drawing is the word, and let's make it official, Tobor. Give me the... Ah, shit! Well, that made it... I think you're the word of the week, blood, just now on my lip. How'd you punch me from inside the room over there? Oh, what the hell? You got like a little remote... Ah! He's got like a remote arm hooked up to the recording desk here. I'm going to have to be careful what I say. Here, Is there a power switch for that? Let me... All right, let's knock it off before people tune out, Tobor. Jeez Louise. Word of the week this week is that. Let's get into some more stuff. You have some music for highs and lows? You've got all the music in there, Tobes. Yeah. Cue it up, dog. What's up, dog? Don't ask me that. What's the difference between a good robotic sidekick and an up dog? I don't know. What's up, dog? I've heard that before, Tobor. That's a total dad joke. I never thought about it. Your processing unit might not know what a dad joke is, huh? You like dad jokes? Oh, God. Okay, my kids either. Let's get up with the highs and lows, dog. Up, dog. So listen, highs and lows. My highs this week is... what's there to be high about, Junkie? My highs this week is going MotoCamping with two of the dumbest a-holes on planet Earth, and also getting very high while I did that. We'll talk about that later. My lows. Well, there's a couple things going on with lows. You may know that I live in the Los Angeles area. You may hear that there's some stuff going on in the Los Angeles area. It's not great. I don't think anybody likes the federal government coming into their town uninvited and stirring a pot. And also, if you like hunting, if you like recreating, I love hunting. I love hiking. I love riding my motorcycle wherever I want to on BLM land and even OHV areas. And I love visiting national monuments and recreating in the wilderness with my family, as one should. And something that's coming up, aside from all the other stuff that's happening right now in the United States, there's there's this thing pushing through Congress right now. It's mostly multifaceted. It's like an octopus with a bunch of AK-47s in its hand, and it's like if it's shooting all over the place, and that's not good. Can it just have 2 AK-47s and the other ones just be like a custard and something else nice that you want? There's a series of public land sales going off in this country right now, or not going off, but getting slated to. And you may know that like a little bit ago, we told Denmark we were going to take over Greenland. We didn't. None of us here did. And I'm sure nobody in America did, because nobody in America thought that was happening. Like, what the hell? That's like, we want to go get a walrus colony off of Newfoundland. I don't know. Who knew Greenland was such a hot commodity? Well, apparently the Great Orange One, he said it, and then was pretty snarky with Ukraine when Volodymyr Zelensky came over and was begging for help. Said, hey, the long story of it is I think that these are mineral asset problems. And so, and maybe we're trying to compete with China. Maybe there's some stuff we've said to China that they didn't like, and we're like, well, you don't like it. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh no, we need these things. So I am not 100% sure what's been happening in the White House. I never am. You always just kind of have to watch that circus on TV. But what I do know is that there have been some land sale issues going on, and I don't like it. And I listen to, aside from motorcycle podcasts, I listen to a lot of hunting and recreating podcasts as well, because those are a bunch of things I like to do. I like to actually ride my motorcycle out and recreate, and one of these days I might ride it out and hunt. Who knows? There's old ads of Honda Trail 90s with the guy with a deer strapped to the back of it or to the front of it. I can't remember. I think he had a rack on front. And he's riding, back in the 70s, before you thought you needed 1,200 or 1,300 cc's to get out in the wilderness. You used to ride a Trail 90 out there, kill a deer, and bring it back. That's two of you, two human-sized things on a trail. Well, back when humans were, deer-sized. Now humans are gigantic, fat blobs, 300 pounds or more. But yeah, back in the day, you would ride your Trail 90. So one day, maybe I will ride a motorcycle out and recreate and hunt and write a story about it. But I will be doing none of that, and either on or off my motorcycle, if our public lands get sold. Now, back in the day, it was one thing for people to close down the public parks and public spaces because of government shutdowns, and there's not enough government employees to go around to do this stuff and keep the parks clean and keep bathrooms clean and trash cans emptied so bears don't go. I've seen both sides of the coin. I've seen it where, like, I believe it was Democrats did something to shut down the parks so that you couldn't get in there, and that's one side of it. And now the other side is like, to lock it down so hard that you can't get in, make it like a endangered space or something like that. I've seen that happen over the years. And then it's another thing though, to sell it off and make it not yours anymore and make it private land now for these companies that are just going to be stripping it of all of its mineral wealth and whatever assets they can get out of it. And that's going to do a bunch of stuff. That's going to disrupt the wildlife. That's going to disrupt the recreational space. And it's going to cut off. It's the same thing as taking it and saying, hey, this is a national monument. You can't go out there anymore because they'll wreck it. It's the same thing as doing that, except saying, hey, not only is it going to maybe not become a national monument one day, but now we're leasing this to somebody, or somebody owns this land and it's private. And you can't even go out there, you can't even go out there and run away from federal agents that are spread real thin because we don't have a budget for them. It's going to be private people, and they're going to blow your ass away because it's their property now. So I don't know. There's the whole terrible lands thing right now that went away for a hot second, and now it's back. So if you like recreating or riding your dirt bike or hiking or doing all of it, riding your dirt bike out to go camping and hiking, you're going to want to pay attention to this. And if you don't, you're just going to wake up one day and that sweet camping spot you used to go out to, or that sweet spot you used to go out and, hunt coyotes or whatever, or, watch wild eagles have babies. You're not going to be able to get to it because somebody's going to have a gate across it and it's going to say keep out private property. So that's my lows. And not only that, but yeah, all the crap happening in LA right now. And just for everyone that wonders, the Glendale studio is not anywhere close to what's going on, but it's still not cool. There are federal agents and wartime Marines. I know they're not. I hope they're not gonna, use the military on civilians. That sounds like something you don't do in the U.S., right? So I don't know, but yeah. So it's just a weird situation here right now. So that's my lows. All the government clown stuff that's happening, and I'm not real happy with it. But you know what? Getting out of the city, getting out there to old Villermo. Made me pretty happy, so we'll be talking about that coming up. Let's see, folks and fart bags alike, what we got for our upcoming events, and there might not be a whole lot. I will I'll let you know right in 1 second. Can you hear my mouse moving around? This is very loud. They got rid of the mouse pads here at Moto One. Maybe they burned them in protest. I don't know, but hang on 1 sec. Actually, Tobor, can you you got your what's it called? You got everything ready? Maybe that is getting close. I have no idea. I can't tell. In LA, there's always noise. I can't tell if that's a gunshot, a firework, or the police shooting off rubber bullets at people. So if you can, you know what to do. Yeah, thank you. So what do we got coming up here? Well, we just had, if you just participated in the Happy Valley Rally or the Pasadena Greenhorn Ride, that looked pretty fun, both of those events. I went camping. And coming up this weekend, I believe, right now happening probably, is the Vintage Fest out at Barber Motorsports Park. Is that where it's at? No, it's at it's at Mid-Ohio. Barber is what, in Alabama? It's very far from that. It is in Ohio. It is the AMA Vintage Motorcycle Days. And I forget exactly what the official name is for it. I didn't bring a magazine to the... I usually have a AMA magazine with me at all times here at the studio, but I didn't bring one. But I think it's like Vintage Days or VVMD, very vintage motorcycle days at Mid-Ohio, whatever the AMA event is. I think that's happening right now. And it started, I think today, and it goes till Sunday or Monday, or it started Thursday and goes till Monday. I think it's 3 or 4 days. Yeah, if you... If you listened to Cleveland Moto the last couple days, hey, thank you, Unky Phil, also for the shout out, like on 2 different shows. For that, they gave you a primer on what to do at Vintage Days and what to look for. And I know the Nakamoto guys asked me to, do you want to go? Are you going to go? Because we got tickets for you or whatever. I'm not, guys. I gotta get ready for some stuff. And it's Father's Day this weekend, so that'll be good. Sorry about that. I did take a sip of beer. Also coming up this next weekend, I believe it is, June 22nd, is going to be the Scooter Cannonball starting in Pendleton, Oregon. And it's going to go to South Padre Island in Texas. So you're going to be riding coast to coast. I think Pendleton, Oregon's on the coast. What do I know? It's just the start of the Cannonball. It doesn't mean it's necessarily from coast. But yeah, if you're in Pendleton and you got a little scooter... 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. That is 7 days of rallying, my good dudes. So I hope everybody has a good ride on that. Also, if you're going to be in Chicago and getting raided by ICE, you may want to take your motorcycle first. If you're going to get deported and you have a sweet Vikla or something, you might want to take it down to Motoblot, which is happening. It's a 3 days and 4 nights of motorcycle rally, music, art, all sorts of festivities, just motorcycle festivities in general. And that's happening in and around Chicago at several different venues, I believe. The music lineup alone looked pretty awesome for that. So keep that in mind. That's all I actually have No, there's some local rides out here in SoCal. Let me see. There's a bunch of local rides coming up for the summertime. Yeah, there's a ride on Sunday, June 29th, which starts at 8 a.m. and it goes till 3. And it is a California motorcycle community. They're having a ride up to Mount Wilson and Newcomb's Ranch from or to Charlie Brown's farm. And that says this will be an easy ride up the Angeles Crest. And that is up to the Mount Wilson Observatory to check out the view. Then it says they're going to continue through Highway 2 to Newcomb's Ranch. However, I don't know how much further the 2 goes through Newcomb's because that's the way I went to go camping. And I know it doesn't go through to Wrightwood. So anyways, so yeah, it's normally a lot of local riders and high-end sports cars and classic cars come up here to take pictures. Yes, I know it's shut down, but it's still a cool spot to visit. That is right. And I believe if you are following certain people here in SoCal, you know they had a Isle of Man viewing up there at Newcomb's Ranch. So some scumbags vandalized Newcomb's Ranch a while back too. So if you're that scumbag and you listen to this show, fuck you, you piece of shit. Anyways, there's also Monteca Bike Night every Saturday at 6 p.m. at Dutch Brothers off of Airport Way. That doesn't say where. It says off highway, off 120 and Airport Way. I don't know where the hell that is, but yep. And then also, I know the Monsters and Minis is coming up June 14th. That's going to be this weekend. That is honors and Steady Garage. I know participates in that quite a bit. It's going to be the intersection of Clemente Street and West Center Promenade in Anaheim, or at the intersection of Anaheim Boulevard and West Center Promenade in Anaheim area. So go check that out. And that looks like it's going to be really, really fun. There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on in SoCal. I do know, I don't know when it's happening, but on my computer at home, I had up the Red Rock Harley. They're playing Magic the Gathering, if you're into that. Probably Magic Con is happening, or GatherCon, whatever is happening in Las Vegas. So I think Red Rock Harley is having motorcycles and Magic or something like that. Who knew fucking nerds would come full circle in the motorcycle world and be playing Magic the Gathering at a Harley-Davidson dealership? How far we've come from the guys who used to like drink 10 W30 for breakfast every morning to now Harley-Davidson is like, come play Magic the Gathering, dudes. It'll be real fun. So that's that is our events. I don't know what else is happening. So, yeah, keep that. I do have an event for creative writing. I need to stick my finger up so I don't forget it, and by the end of the show, tell you about it. Tobor, you got another little stingy for me? A little stinger-ringer? You do? Okay, great. All righty, perfect. This is one of my favorite stingers, by the way, too. Let's get into what's looking creative this week. And Tobor, give me a little drum roll. You're on it tonight, bud. Nice. I like that little finisher. What's looking creative this week? Well, Junk had to peruse the internet. I don't know if I actually saw anything creative this week, but in person. But on the web I did, and what I found was a bike that was featured, well, a company that was featured in Dice magazine. And if you go to Dice, online and peruse around there a little bit, you might find Red Clouds Collective. They are a shop out of Portland. I think they make high-end clothes and gloves and stuff like that. But they also do motorcycle restorations and choppers. And guess what? It's old school, baby. So that means what? Not Harley-Davidsons. That's right. The reason I'm even okay with old school choppers is that it wasn't all one brand. It's kind of like why I like Bososoku bikes. It's not all Hondas. There's a bunch of Suzukis and Kawasaki's and a bunch of other, maybe even some Harleys over there. Who knows? Those, all those 400 Harleys they made back in Japan in the day. Anyways, long story short, Red Clouds Collective in Portland, they have a 1965 Triumph Tiger Cub. It's a super nice little restoration. Well, it's not even a restoration. It's a customization. It's a custom resto custom, I guess. But they apparently pulled this bike out of, it wasn't quite a pile of parts, but it was a pile of bike that was covered in dirt and wood. I think they pulled it out from underneath the wood pile. It wasn't quite a barn find. It was a wood pile find. And they have really made it into a really sweet looking, simple design, almost period correct, classic trials bike. And I believe it looks quite stunning. As a matter of fact. So yeah, check it out. If you want to know which bike I'm talking about, go to redcloudscollective.com and check out the Catamount Cub. That's all she wrote, Tobor. Yeah, I need another stinger. You'd think we would just have a bunch of stingers like queued up on a soundboard somewhere instead of you having to drop them in every single time from our file index. Maybe that's something the Glendale studio hasn't set up yet. But anyways, yeah, I keep hearing it too. Tobor's pointing outside right now. I don't know if that's an animal climbing on the roof of the studio, if it is if it's fireworks. I don't know what I'm hearing. Let's just keep going with the bike updates, shall we? The bike updates. Well, part of the bike updates this week also corresponds with some things that I did this weekend. So we're going to talk about both of those things, I guess, right here in one simple fail swoop. After I take one more sip of this delicious Easy Rider. They should start sponsoring the show, don't you think? Yeah, I mean, it's not like I talk about them all the time, but I just don't think they, this can is mostly white and the slogans are awesome. So I think that I just don't think they have enough budget to sponsor a show, even for a case of beer. So hang on one sec. Delicious. All right. So the Throaty Coyote, this is what's happening with the bike updates. The Throaty Coyote. So that is the VFR. If you guys know me, I have Paul's VFR, which still is known as Paul's VFR. And I have dubbed it the Throaty Coyote because it is now gray and it is loud as fuck and it howls when you rip it open. So the Throaty Coyote and me had a little excitement this weekend, and I'm going to talk about it when I go into our MotoCamping segment, I think. And so I'll just tell you that, I had some body mods I had to make on it. And this is something that I've been all the other bikes I have, except for Spamela, which I've also heavily modified. And it's almost all parts that I've made, except for the gas tank. The Throaty Coyote is another one of those bikes where when I procured it, it had been dropped and it had been cut apart, and it had various, the thing is a 97. It's almost 2027, in a couple years from now. So you can see where I'm going with this. It's got 30-year-old plastics on it, and they're brittle as all get out. And then when I do some modifications and it stresses certain areas of them, oh boy, does that suck? Because now I've created if it wasn't already broken off to begin with from just age, I'm breaking it now. So that's pretty sucky. And I made some turn signals for it, and they held up for quite a while until they didn't, which is kind of weird. But these turn signal, I guess I didn't make the signal, but the mounting bases for it, I cast them out of this really durable resin. The problem was that I did a 2-part casting, and it broke where the 2 parts met. And I don't know how it even held on for so long, but I've tested every casting afterwards. And what's going to happen is I'm going to have to make a new 2-part. I'm just going to have to make a single casting from this 2-part piece, which means I'm going to have to make this weird, crazy, probably 2 or 3-part mold to make that fit, just for a little tiny turn signal bracket. Well, what have I made my other turn signal brackets out of? Metal. And that just works great because metal, you form it once and it's flexible. It'll bend and it'll bend back if you do it out of the right stuff. And you got to paint it or else it'll rust. But it just doesn't break apart or shatter like some resins, plastics, or even ABS, like original bodywork. So me and the Throaty Coyote had a little adventure where some of the pieces that I've made for it, including the license plate bracket, I made out of a little bit too light of thin gauge sheet metal and bent a bracket out of it, and cut and bent a bracket out of it. And then what's happened is just the vibrations of the road over the last couple of years has really started to crack that bracket. And what I should have done, and put stress on the body where I mounted it. I mounted it across where the OEM taillight used to go. And so that was just plastic mounting to plastic. And now you got like a metal bracket mounting to plastic. And I think the license plate bracket used to be its own thing, independent from the body panels. So it's partially my fault that this thing's getting weakened up by the vibrations of the road, even though parts of it had already broke off. You know, when I looked in there was broken pieces of plastic with dirt on them. And so I was like, well, that broke off before I even, had possession of this bike. So there's just certain things with old plastics where they start deteriorating. So me and the Throaty Coyote had a little adventure where I had to, let's just say, rapid prototype, and not even a part, just rapid prototype a solution that would hold the rear end and the license plate on so I could get out and go camping. We'll talk about that in a little bit before here too long. But in the meantime, I want to talk about someone else's tales as well, and not just focus on my own. But yeah, that's basically what's new with the bikes. Spamlet is still undergoing some restoration. And I'm trying to figure out the carb and the petcock on the FZ. It has an oil injection like petcock and a little oil injector down where the carburetor meets. So it's really weird how the petcock on this thing has like three or four like galleries. One's for like reserve, one's for priming it, and which is like the vacuum operated side of the thing, and then one's the regular fill, and then there's like a fourth one at the bottom, which I don't know what it's for, but it kind of matches the oil injection port. So I was like, wow, this just the petcock alone isn't a simple on and off. It's got a bunch. It's got like four different little tabs coming in, plus that vacuum port for the I'm guessing like when you, excuse me, I had a cough there, I had to edit that out. When you put it on prime or PRI, which a few vacuum operated petcocks will have, when you start kicking the motor over, the vacuum pressure from the manifold will like slurp open the little diaphragm that's in there and like start slurping gas through manually. The pumping of the piston going up and down with the starter will like pump that diaphragm, and it'll pump some gas into your, through your petcock to your carb. So this thing's got like four, and one's for vacuum, like I said, one's for reserve, one's for normal, and one's for priming. So it's a pretty interesting looking petcock. So I tried to get that thing cleaned up. Oh, you think I made any progress on the carb? You're totally wrong about that, but I'm still looking forward to it. And then last but not least, the Patreon stuff. It's kind of been on hold. I have a work trip coming up, and so I hope to get an episode out or two now, and fill in this gap and fill it in for when I'm on my work trip. And then also, just finding some time actually to come out here and start filming part 2 of our little fiberglass series for our Patreons has taken a bit. So hopefully, if you're a Patreon supporter or a member and you have started your fiberglass project, maybe you have it. I mean, it's been like a month or more since we started it, and so I know sometimes people look at stuff and then they don't get a chance to even start the project. So if you have and you're working on it now, hopefully by the time you get it done, excuse me, I keep having vocal malfunctions. Hopefully by the time you have it done and you actually did something, it will be time for you to open up the next video, and I'll have it done in time. So that's my biggest hope. Tobor, did we lose our soundboard? So that's bike updates. Let's take a little quick jump down music lane here and do get into our main segment, and we'll be right back with some more creative writing. I'm going to take a quick break, see if I can't clear my vocal cords with some of this delicious alcoholic beverage, and you do the same. You get in there, you get a little drinky, you come right back with some more Uncle Junkie, and creative writing. Be right back. Hey, creative riders, for going on 135 years now, Junkie has always trusted one pickle company with his motorcycle success, and that's Clobman's Pickles, folks. And guess what? Junkie has been out there in the dirt, camping on cramped hillsides in the middle of nowhere in the desert, on the dirt. He's been riding some very crazy off-road stuff. He's been doing stunts on his motorcycle. He's been doing crashes and flips on his motorcycle. He's been lifting weights. He's been waking up in the back of trucks, old shitty beds of trucks that are possibly rusty and full of tetanus. And what does he do? That's right. The first thing Junkie does when he wakes up from the stupors of madness from riding and camping and working out and sleeping in the beds of rusty trucks is he takes a swig of Clobman Pickles' new pickle protein drink. Yes, that's right. You heard me. It's pickle protein. It's not really pickle protein. Everybody knows that pickle brine is one of the best things for relieving joint pain, muscle pain, dehydration. That's why all the pros in all these professional stick and ball sports are slurping it down. If you can't get your hands on a glass of some other brands, which we won't say, get yourself a giant jar of a Clobman pickle. If you're feeling dehydrated, you got the sweats, you got the night shits, you got muscle cramps, spasms, or any of that jazz, get you a jar of green glizzy goo and drink it down, folks. That's right, pickle juice actually helps you hydrate, perform better. It's full of salts, electrolytes, and some of the crap that Brondo has in it. So go ahead, gulp the gloop from Clobman's Pickles. Get some green glizzy gloop when you're down your gullet. All right. All right, everybody, we are back with some more creative writing, and we're going to jump into a segment with a road pirate right now, and we're going to drop that in here, and then we got our own little tale of what's been happening. Then we'll come back and we'll wrap up the show with some exciting news from creative writing. Is it really exciting? I don't know. We'll find that out once that happens. And then talk about some crazy news and stuff that's coming up before we wrap up the show. So stick around and let's Tobor, you know what to do. From the booth, from the editing booth to God's ears, you play us a sweet stinger to get us into this next segment. Real quick.
Yeah, man.
All right, ladies and germs, you asked for it, and you're going to get it. We have our roving correspondent on the horn with us right now. We are working against the clock. I've got a recorder that's about to run out of battery and a phone that's about to run out of battery, but we would be remiss to miss this guest on this week's show since we've been talking about him so much. Who's with us right now on the horn?
Jonny gone again, or old Jonny Roundtree.
Old Jonny Roundtree.
The roving reporter.
You are the roving reporter. And guess what? Luckily for us, you are, in fact, roving. You are on the road somewhere in the heart of America, from what I understand. Where are you at right now?
Well, Tornado Alley in, let's see, I'm in Dodge City, Kansas.
Ironically named, since every tornado seems to hit it, I've noticed. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, I wanted to dodge Kansas myself, but...
Hey, I got to ask. So fill us in if everybody hasn't been following along for the past couple little bit here. Fill us in on where you're at and where you started from.
Okay. Let's start with realizing the dream, like, you know what I mean, and then realizing that it's unaffordable and like, it's,
yeah.
But if you nickel and dime yourself daily and for months and months and don't go on those, long rides and don't buy that new shirt or new whatever, then you can stack money and eventually make it out of the state. And yeah, I want to see America and, 50 years old. And thank you for keeping that on the hush, Junkie. I noticed that on the last, you're like, yeah, it's a big day. That was my birthday.
Yeah.
That was the day I left.
Hell yeah.
And I crossed the 50 in Nevada. The loneliest highway was amazing. Stopped at the Harley-Davidson in Carson City. And I was like, hey, can I talk to someone that's crossed this state or this highway before? And they're like, oh, yeah, hold on. Here's a little stamp book.
Shut up.
You stop across these little towns across the 50 and you get it stamped, and you usually have to go to like the city hall or something like that. And,
it's like your passport across the country.
Yeah, just across 50. And
so
it was lonely, but good.
So Highway 50 is the name of the loneliest highway. I mean, Route 66 is famous, but let's face it, there's so many famous highways across America, and you traveled. Did you make it all the way across the 50?
Yes, I'm actually still on the 50.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I really wanted to do the 60, the Mother Highway, but I mean, obviously I want to start, and I have to see you guys first because that's where it starts.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, any southbound roads, I'm like, oh man, I'm eastbound.
Yeah.
But so it was like I even had free rooms booked in Vegas, but I was like, no, I just want to beeline it. And yeah. So,
hey, when you're doing a trip all the way across the country, sometimes you don't have the luxury of, going zigzagging north and south. This country is bigger than some whole countries in Europe, like some regions of multiple countries strung together. So I get it. And you're putting on quite a show. You're going to, I mentioned, did you dip your toes in the Pacific before you left, or did you start out of your hometown and just book it?
I was born in the Pacific. I crawled out of it.
Right.
So my toes are already
as soon as you slap them in the Atlantic, then we're going to have a melding of the oceans. We're going to truly connect.
I did hear that on the podcast, and I was like, oh. Yeah, I don't wash my feet because,
that's right.
Way too far down.
Yeah, you have to reach too far down. Anything below the knees isn't worth the effort.
Yeah, I'm old now, so I'm good. I feel spry, man, when I hit that gas down the highway and just the right song clicks on. I'm like, oh, I feel young again.
Yeah, hell yeah. I got a question about that. And before I get to that, I got to ask, if anybody's not following along your adventures on YouTube, they can find you at Johnny's Gone Again. But what are you heading out on? Because you got a Grom, or you had a Grom, and you're obviously not taking that across the country.
Right. Even though I've seen a couple of videos of dudes riding their Groms cross country, I'm time limited. So recently in October, I test rode a Harley Road Glide, and don't ever test ride anything unless you're willing to buy it, because it'll take over you. I test rode a sailboat. I bought a sailboat.
Yeah.
I've done it for 10 years. And now I'm like, I can't imagine anything. And now, like, hauling down these straight highways, and not having to hold the throttle and clicking the cruise control.
Right.
Like, I kept hearing this over in my head. I'm all Harley touring. I'm all, yeah, no shit. It's easy to fucking, what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Sorry, you can beep the F words later, but
no need to. This ain't YouTube. Well, I guess it will go on YouTube. Maybe we'll have Tobor. I'll put it into Tobor's processor. He was equally as excited because of all his algorithms and map. Just because he doesn't really get to travel further than Glendale to here, he was excited to follow along on your adventure and see
Glendale
where you were headed.
Studios, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. Yeah, and then so you test rode this Harley, you got on the Harley, and it didn't take you very long before you're getting across the country on it. That's pretty badass.
Right. Okay. So let me go back to the test ride. Now, remember, I was on a Yamaha NT09.
Yeah.
And I went to the Harley just on one day and just talking, and he's like, you've been coming here for a year now. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, do you want to test ride this thing? And I'm like, yeah. And so hopped on it, and it felt like I straddled the aircraft carrier.
Right.
And that's how it felt to turn, bro. And so did that ride, this and that, and then came back, and the next day, like, as you and me are having this conversation right now, as someone's talking to me, I hear static. because all I can think about was my test ride.
Yeah.
And like clicking third gear, I understand now. Being a Honda fan from when I was a youngster, when you click third and you roll on that throttle and you hear that exhaust, the stars and stripes come off you, and like a bald eagle starts following you.
Right. That's awesome. Well, you have ridden across Utah, so it's actually possible.
Right. Utah is gorgeous, man. It is gorgeous, and I don't know. It's just every time I stop, man, everyone's just. This is what I wanted to do is, like feel America. Like I love stopping because I get to talk to locals.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and that's what you need to absorb. And I know I'm a mile crusher. I want to be a mile crusher. First of all, there's no way in hell I can ever do a iron butt. There's no way. I'm sorry. 500 is good for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to experience America, man, and stop and like take my time. And I don't know. I just like, even when I stopped today at the gas station, I was like, yeah, you guys have a beautiful state. They're like, not really, nothing to look at. And I look at all these properties and I think of how many motocross parks I could have on one property.
Exactly. Where you see potential where others just see, that old lot that they've always seen.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I'm super juiced. I
got to ask you real quick. So since you are heading, you're going coast to coast, what type of playlist? If anybody needs a suggestion on, what got you pumped to get out there on the road and what keeps you awake? I'm sure. I mean, I know you're not doing an iron butt every day, but you are in the saddle for a significant amount of hours, and you got to be listening to something good or drinking some good coffee.
Yes, I always try to start my day with some decent coffee. Unfortunately, I still like soda pop, and that's what kind of keeps me rolling. But playlist. So recently I got a new phone before, like when I got the bike. So my Pandora, that's been my playlist for, I don't know, a couple decades now, is all gone. So I'm restarting a new one. First of all, you should start off with this podcast called Creative Riding Motorcycle Podcast.
Never heard of it.
Well, I suggest you do. The host of the character, the co-host is going to be me soon. Nah. But shout out to Tobor, my boy.
Yeah, he was excited.
But yeah, the playlist, man, you get those peppy songs when you're tired and you start feeling it, you pull over a little bit, stretch. I mounted highway pegs on my bike made out of Chinesiums, and
how long did those last? Are they still going?
They're still going.
No way.
Yeah, they're still going. I don't like to pull up like at Harley dealerships and like, because you could tell what's Chinese and what ain't. But
yeah,
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. And then today I was like, you know what? Look at these back pegs here. Well, what happens if I put these back pegs? And I'm all, oh shit, I got a new stretching position. So yeah, no, it's good, man. And you have a lot of time to think, and that's where I come back to like throttle therapy. And I talked to the co-host, Kimberly Dawson.
Yeah.
And you're having a bad day, man. Like, playlist is important too. Yeah. So I love Pink Floyd, but when you're doing 80 and it's coming over the speakers, it's hard to hear.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
AC/DC makes you feel like a badass.
Especially with all those star-spangled emissions going out behind you and the eagle soaring overhead.
Yeah. I love how you're like another black bagger, bro.
Hey, you can have a bagger of any color you want as long as it's black, right? It's like Henry Ford said that.
I feel like it's the starter kit for Harleys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it comes with the black vest and the fucking and an attitude.
How much was the hog membership?
It came with it because I financed it through Iron Steed Harley-Davidson out of Vacaville, California. They gave me Bro, they gave me $6,000 for the MT-09.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, like market price is like 65 for the miles I had. So I didn't have to deal with anyone coming to my house, test riding it. Well, I'm going to pop some wheelies.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to chase you down the highway on my Grom
Yeah.
in a full tuck.
That is sick, though. That's pretty nice that they, they.
Yeah, and it was all good. And honestly, so from 29, I've always wanted a Harley, and then so I started getting my life back together, and and building my credit and this and that. And I made a phone call to one of my best friends, Jerry, up in Washington, and I used to live with him. And he's all, "What's going on, man?" I'm like, "No, man, I'm just I just test rode a Harley yesterday." And he's all, "What'd you think?" I said, "Fucking amazing." He's all, "Well, go get it."
Nice.
I'm all, "What do you mean?" And he's all, "What have you building your credit for this whole time?" I said, "To get a Harley." And he's all, "Well, then go get it."
Yeah.
And I was all, "I don't want to get denied." And he's all, "You won't know until you try it."
Yeah.
And so,
we all need a friend like that. Everybody right now, if you're on the fence about getting this dream bike that you've wanted ever since you were young, go for it, man.
go do it. Or at least test ride it. And then you have no choice because.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
So
it also sounds like the Harley guys are excellent salespeople. Like they knew, they remembered you. They knew you'd been coming in there for a bit. They're like,
they log everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got this guy. We got him, dude. We got him.
Yeah.
We got bikes to trade in. Let's get him. It's awesome.
What's funny is I do think about where my MT-09 ended up.
Yeah.
I was like, where did she go? Because now, like back when I had, I used to go to bike nights in Sacramento. My first bike night I showed up at, there was like 300 bikes, one sheriff, no drama, amazing.
Excellent.
But I had a bike that was a VFR. But then when I went with my MT-09, it was like a bike that people were like, "Oh man, that looks good."
Yeah.
Well, now that I got the Harley black bagger, I'm all, no one wants to see a black bagger at, you know what I mean?
There's 92 of them at the bike night. It's fine. But, yeah, no, you know what? The thing is if you ever do see that MT-09 around, you had decorated that thing up so that unless they undo every single thing you did, that'll be a pretty recognizable bike.
Oh, I'm sure there's probably tan lines if you take off the stickers on the rim.
Yeah, for sure. Rad. So what is your, what's been your daily, well, first of all, how many days you been on the road? A week now or not quite a week?
Okay. So not quite a week, but I left Thursday morning.
Okay.
What's funny is someone asked me that yesterday and I couldn't even, I don't know.
Yeah. So you've been on the road for a few days, not quite a week. What has been your favorite stretch of road so far?
All right. The fact that I made it through the 50, the loneliest, without it being 100 degrees and crosswinds.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a breeze.
Yeah. Almost too easy?
Besides the straight road. Yeah. But I would say the loneliest, not the $1 million highway coming from Grand Junction, Colorado down to south. That one was amazing. Little over, you're not going to go fast. You're going to get the views. It's not for, I saw a couple of street bikes like passing people, but there's a couple turns like I was like 7 miles an hour scraping pegs. And
yeah.
But the altitude and like there's still snow and so the town that I left when I started going up, it said the Swiss Alps of America. And I was all, let's see. Dude, you will break your neck and be paralyzed if you try looking to the top of the.
So it really was is steep and mountainous. That's awesome.
It was so good, dude. And then as you come back down, you stop. There's the highest Harley-Davidson store. It's not a dealership, it's a store, and it's in Silverton, Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's over 9,000 feet. It's on one of my videos, but I was like, man, you guys are blessed. Like I talk to everyone, and I was like, you guys are blessed living here. Like they're like, oh, it's nice. But I'm like, I'm a Cali boy. I can't do the snow. But like, I'm going to come back. I think like, you told the people in at the motel, I was like, I'm going to come back next year. You guys treated me like family. I need to bring my family back here, and I need to see this place again. And
nice.
dude, I'm only 4 days in. Who knows? I might turn into a whatever state I feel happy in.
Yeah, yeah. We're going to talk to Jonny, the other Fornian, wherever you end up. No, we need to check in with you because you haven't even been on the road a week and you've already hit some amazing sounding, some really amazing sounding landscapes and some historic roads. So I'm excited. I'm all about it.
Bro, I'm going to tell you one thing. Like, so the landscapes create an emotion, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then if you have the right music, you're like, how do I just want to get paid to do this. Like, I look at all these YouTubers that are like one day, it does turn into a job. I watch these YouTubers and I'm like, oh God, it looks stressful. But, so I've always been like weird about like showing my face and this and that. But like this time I'm like, I'm going real. Like, bro, I'm a garbage pail kid in real life.
You and me both, brother.
Bro, I know. Like, we're twinsies. So
yeah.
But so I'm really trying to like be more genuine with my videos and like explain like what's going on and like how I feel and like you see like videos of I'm all
yeah.
And then I meet someone outside like, I'm gonna go have a beer outside and a cigarette, and like I run into some motorcycle riders and like they're like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm running for mayor in every state or every city in there.
Oh man, that's great. It's great. It's great to find places like that too, like where the people are friendly, the beers are cold, and the cigarettes just taste better because it's different air that you're smoking in or whatever, you know.
Yeah, first of all, it's disgusting to be a cigarette smoker. But I do have a question for the host.
Sure.
What is your longest ride?
Let me see. You know what? I don't know. I cannot think of anything I've ridden past. I
know you've been to Vegas on Spamela a few times.
Yeah, that felt like a 4-day ride, even though that wasn't. I mean, I've been up 2 places and gone around and come back. I rode halfway up California and then across and halfway back down. So, I mean, California being the height of 3 other states put together. I mean, that's probably the longest one, even though it wasn't out of state. The furthest east I've been is either Nevada or Arizona. I don't think I've ever been on my bike past that. I might have landed somewhere and rode around, but I don't think I've been anywhere on my bike from here past Nevada, Arizona. I'm going to say that's about it. That's sad.
Okay. On the same note, if you were to decide to go on a long ride, where would you point yourself?
Where are you at right now?
Kansas.
I would not go to Kansas. Yeah, I know that you could see across Kansas to the next state. But I have some friends in Iowa. You could probably see Iowa from Kansas. Yeah, I think I'd like to head up into the Rockies for sure. I have some friends that live in Colorado, and they're always telling me about it. However, it may be on this upcoming show that we do or the next show after that. There's some terrifying statistics about motorcycle fatalities in places like Colorado and Texas. But I would love. I've never been to Milwaukee. And I would love to ride up there, even though I don't have a Harley. And I was thinking back over the years, I don't think I've ever ridden a Harley, not even a live wire. Maybe go up to the mother city and jump on a Harley there, straight off the printing press, and do a couple miles around the city where she was made. I don't know. That sounds like fun to me.
I mean, you are the host of the best motorcycle podcast out there. So
yeah.
I feel like
I don't think Wisconsin has any other motorcycle podcasts. So it's just, that's the default setting.
Well, no, as far as going up to Milwaukee, Oh,
gotcha. Yeah.
I plan on getting my, now that I'm a Harley boy,
You got to go
bagger,
home.
dude.
You got to go home, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the Harley emblem tattooed across my throat.
Nice.
And it's gonna say, "Mom didn't love me." No, born wanderer, bro, and
Yeah, there you go.
roaming reporter.
Yeah. Well, hey,
But yeah, man, I will totally. I just have to say this for all the listeners out there. This host is an amazing dude. I've been listening to this podcast for 3 years, over 3 years, and literally have like junkies brought me to tears and laughter. Not just him and Tobor and Tim and
can't be me. It's never just me.
It is you, bro. I'm telling you, I love you, dude. You kill it, and I'm blessed that I met you. And I still, bro, you're gonna laugh at this. I still have right now in my wallet the napkin from the tiki bar.
Nice.
You laughed at me when I was like, I'm gonna save this, and you giggled, and I forget your best friend's name that I met that night.
Hey, Rolly. Yeah.
Man, that dude was so cool. When you went up there and we're ordering one, I said, remember, I need a virgin one. And you're like, yeah, okay. And then I was like halfway through my second, are you sure this is a virgin one?
Was it? I forget.
No, it better been, because you're the one who got it. And I just smiled the whole ride down. Yeah. And then I said, peace out, junkie, and made it back. And that was on the VFR. And
yeah. I was gonna say we're running out of battery on both devices here, but I do have to ask, now that you've got this, obviously you've probably put way more miles on your VFR touring, but now that you got your Harley, what would you say is a better tourer?
Harley.
Yeah.
I love, as much I love my VFR is my heart.
Yeah.
When that hits 78 or 6,800 RPMs and that VTEC kicked in, there's nothing. But the growl and that smoothness, and man, I even weighed my saddlebags to make sure they were even and dialed in the suspension, the garbage suspension Harley has, and I've hit some, and I'm still on a stock seat. My ass doesn't hurt, my back doesn't hurt.
That's amazing.
Yeah, dude, and
you're a strong guy, though. You're not like one of those like 300-pound meatball guys, so that probably goes a long way.
Nah, my meatballs are lower than, but yeah. No, that's one thing I forgot to say is, so I remember this when I was doing long distance rides. Any big meals, like snack, peanut, this and that, big meals will make you tired, and you start. That's when I apply toothpicks to my eyelids.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, all those carbs going into your bloodstream, and it's got to stop and start processing them. Yeah, for sure. Good call on that.
So little snacks, water is important, very important. Even if I don't give a shit if it's cold, just do it.
Yeah.
Take some pulls and keep an eye out for everyone and be friendly and courteous, man, and represent California.
There you go. Yeah, don't let them see what's on the news. Just let them know what's in your heart and what type of people like to ride. Hey, we have to check in with you next week too. So don't think you're getting out of a weekly report now that you're going to be on the road for a bit. Maybe even.
Hey, what are you talking about? I am a lifer for this podcast.
Yeah, there you go. I know anytime I call, even if you're on the helmet and you got comms, you would take an interview. So I'm looking forward to next week finding out where you are. And then finding out then, from today till then, what your new adventure has been and what your new favorite road is, and see if you got a change in your playlist.
Right on. I know you play guitar.
Yeah, I dabble.
Yeah, I know you dabble. You shred. So, I'm a fan of 12-string acoustics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of this one is the Turn the Page, either the Bob Seger version or the Metallica version.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah, hell yeah.
On the road again. Yeah, so.
Is that summing up your trip so far?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite thing is to meet people. I love talking to people, man. And I feel weird asking, hey, can we take a selfie? But I want to do this so this whole thing, I'm going to try to send my videos out. But when I get back home, I'm going to do a movie of the whole trip. And
yeah.
Well,
you touched on it. I know we don't have much time left. You touched on it. You said you wanted to do this for a living, and I got to tell you, Mitch Beam at the BIM, he says at the from American Motorcyclist magazine, when I had a chance to talk to him at AIM, is if you document your trip and you get some decent words down and send it in, and they find the story interesting, they will help you flesh it out a little bit and help you edit it, and you could see this story in an episode in an issue of that magazine.
okay.
You never know what's going to happen, but yeah, we love to follow along. Again, if you guys want to watch the stuff that he's been posting, you've been sending me copies and I've been absorbing it. I was like, oh, this is so beautiful right off the bat. Check him out. Johnny's Gone Again on YouTube. And then,
so here's the thing: you'll end up getting Johnny Cash if you don't spell it right.
Yeah,
it's Jonny.
Yeah. Yeah. So awesome. Well, thanks, Johnny. And again, have a good night. Enjoy yourself. And check
Junkie,
in with us.
Thank you so much, Junkie. I really want you to know that how much your podcast has been a part of my life. Even my family.
Yeah.
That doesn't ride will sit and listen to a podcast.
Nice.
Yeah. So
they can't wait to see what we say what idiotic thing we say next.
Bro, I'm telling you, you've made me laugh, cry, fucking everything. I swear to God. And the fact that you answered today, man, it's you'll be my brother, my SoCal brother forever, bro.
Hell yeah. Hey, when I saw who it was from, I couldn't say no,
Yeah. If you ever want to come to the Bay Area, I got a house, I got a spot, and I will show you my turf.
Hell yeah. I'd love to see it. Hey,
yes, sir.
Well, I'm hanging up the phone, but I'm not hanging up on this trip. We're going to touch base with you next week and see where you're at.
All right. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. Take it easy. I'll talk to you next time.
All right.
Bye. Bro, Johnny Roundtree, what a generous, loving individual. I cannot say enough good stuff about him, the content that he's been creating, the trips that he's been going on, just inviting you into his everyday life as he do on his channel. And I really meant, he had a pretty bitch, and he would always send me these pictures of his it was not an FC, it was an MT-09. And I was tricking it out, winning bike shows similar to Jeremy Auto ASC, whose bike we could never fully roast. But anyway, yeah, long story short, man, it was it's just awesome that he's got a new bike and he's out there exploring frickin' America, baby, America. Let me see. Let's get into the next little bit of hijinks from the road. And I just want to call this out again. Johnny mentioned the podcast and he mentioned how much it means to him. And I do want to say thank you to Unky Phil for mentioning us a couple times. He said that he had a long road trip and he was listening to the Nokomoto and a couple other moto podcasts, which I often do as well. I'll have these stints at work or in, my leisure time where I will go ahead and I will just binge podcasts. I'll take that time to listen to new podcasts, check out what's going on in the scene. So honestly, I'm really curious as which episode Phil listened to that he said was great and made him give us the shout out. Because Phil, there's 365 named ones plus another 30 junk piles and Solstice Slams and special one-offs. They're all pretty garbage. I want to know which one you listen to. So thank you regardless. Maybe it's just cheap entertainment. Who knows? But whatever it is. So yeah, let's do this. I want to talk about my last weekend. And if you ever listen to the Meat Eater podcast or Cal's Week in Review, he always tells you what's going on, but he says, first, let me tell you about my week. And here's what I spent the week doing. My tales from the road come to you from the high desert out here in Southern California, miles, about an hour and a half away from home here in the, Pasadena area, to wherever the hell we ended up at. So here's how things shook out. And I'm gonna write a little blog post on this as well, so that if you don't want to listen to this whole thing, you can just check it out. So Saturday morning, I woke up ready to work. I was going to film some Patreon videos and shuffle around the garage and get some projects started. Others moved on, and at least make some progress on them. There was a text thread between me and the boys that had a mention of a ride on Sunday, so I had no plans that Saturday other than to focus on my day in the garage and ride a bit the next day. A text came in at 10:28 that morning that started an avalanche of emotions and actions. My riding buddy Sid was heading out early for a night of camping. He has been running on full steam and fumes simultaneously at a special effects shop for like the last few months. He's got a lot of stuff going on, and if you know him, he's a thinker, and if you're a thinker and you got a lot of stuff going on, it can consume you. So he wanted to meet up for a Sunday ride, but he made it clear that he was getting the hell out of Dodge for the night. Wiggins crossed off the list of family events that he had to do, and he prepped for some departure as well. But I said, hey, if you're going camp, he said, I'm going to go ride, and then I'll meet you guys tomorrow for the ride. I'm going to ride up to go camping tonight. And I said, hey, I can camp. He said, you guys can tag along if you want. And I said, yeah, I can camp. And then Wiggins perked up his ears and says, hey, are we riding tomorrow, or should I see if I can camp tonight? So that one text that came in at 10:28 in the morning on Saturday, I was already planning on doing nothing all day. Wiggins was already planning on doing nothing all day. We were both geared up for that ride the next day. And I thought, boom, all of a sudden that hits, and you're like, yeah, I'd like to. So Wiggins and myself had a bunch of family stuff to do. Wiggins had like some stuff with his daughters. I just had a bunch of domestic, co-chores and things that me and my family take care of. I just can't leave them high and dry and bail out of town and not, leave them there to do my stuff. So I began to frantically finish up some chores and other responsibilities so that I wouldn't be leaving my wife with a messy house and hangry teenage Sasquatches roaming around. And first things first, I would be ready to go by 6, which is a time that was mentioned, if I hurried. The throaty coyote, she's been refusing to start lately. And then there's that crack in the rear body near the tail lamp that I mentioned at the beginning of the show. So a bespoke bracket for the license plate, that's what started this crack from all the road vibration. And it started to crack as well. And I know a few months ago, or like maybe last year, when I was riding and a screw fell out of one side of that and the license plate was hanging at an angle, I know it put pressure on the side that cracked. I know that's probably what started the crack, but just random road vibrations, probably backing the license plate into the wall at the Friday kickback didn't help. I think that finally sealed the deal if it wasn't already broken. But the actual bracket breaking as well from road vibrations, that is insane. So there's a couple things going on. So refusing to start lately. So first things first, I'd be ready to go, and I have a few bikes. The throaty coyote, she's been refusing to start. She's got all this bodywork stuff going on. I can't ride without a license plate. I mean, I could, but that's asking for trouble. Spamela, not road ready. The SCR 950, not road worthy. And the FZ, man, that thing's been the FZ and KZ. Those things are barely running, so or not even started. So the plan was Operation Desperation. I decided not to go, and I really felt obliged to get the Patreon video filmed, and that's what I was going to spend Saturday doing. Wiggins has been texting incessantly all day about sending me some bags and supplies and off-roading. So I just knew it wasn't in the cards. And later that afternoon, my daughter came out as I'm trying to get stuff ready and I'm trying to do housework and every once in a while I'll pop out here to the garage to assess the situation. What can I do? Like while I'm doing chores, I'm thinking, what can I do to make this trip happen? She says, Dad, you can always work in the garage, but you can't always go camping with your friends. And wiser words have never been spoken. well, I mean, ask a 15-year-old and they'll tell you why words are spoken very often. But to me, that really hit home. So my actions are fix the body panel. The previous owner has done, or maybe two previous owners, because I don't think this was done by the person I got it from. But the previous owner has done some pretty sweet modifications in lieu of a tail tidy. They had attached 4 soda can pull tabs to the underside of the rear fender with tiny zip ties and some sort of adhesive that'll probably still be on there when the sun becomes a supernova and eats Earth. And I'm anxious to talk to Paul and see if he did that or not, because if he didn't do that, and that's a surprise to him too, man, what a crazy mod. Like this, a license plate hanger, and then they cut a hole in the rear fender and took the license plate. There's no tail tidy, so there's no place for a license plate lamp to go anymore. So the license plate lamp, they just like used a hole saw or it kind of looks like a pocket knife to cut a hole in the rear fender and just jam the light bulb, which is like an 1194 or something like that. Jam it through the or like 1157, I don't know. It's not dual filament. Whatever's not dual filament, just jam this big ass light bulb through this hole in the fender to shine on this license plate that's hanging underneath the bike. So it's pretty interesting. So you know what? I thought I'm going to use some similar tactics to this. Whoever did this is kind of clever, and that I don't have that level of adhesion, or adhesive or whatever the hell they use to glue those things to the inner fender that are still there all these years later. But I'm going to use some similar tactics. And so it was broken. The rear body panel is broken on the right side, right where the rear body and the brake lamp attach to each other to form the closeout for the rear body of the motorcycle. It's like the rear panel. Unfortunately, the bolt hole and a little sliver of rear body panel was attached to the tail lamp and license area. And that snapped off. And the rest of the side body panel is just flapping out there in the breeze. I mean, it's got like a shoulder bolt that bolts it up top, and then it's got like a blind like plug thing that like pops into a grommet on the front of the fuel tank. But the back of it is just flapping around. So that means that the on the right side, the turn signal and the tail lamp are also flapping around a little bit, you know. And one of these days they're gonna fall out. They are just held in there with screws and J nuts too, and they're gonna eventually, those tabs are gonna break also with age. So what I did is I drilled 8 sets of tiny holes running parallel on both sides of the brake. And I got something that was tough, but not quite safety wire. And so I used this, quote, not quite safety wire to stitch together this little sliver of plastic with the bolt hole to the right rear body panel that had, broken off of. I admired my handiwork, and I said, that'll hold for at least a night. So we're good for a night. Step 2 was not quite safety wiring the license plate to the rear fender because that bracket's going to break. I used the hole where the original license plate lamp routed through as an anchor point. On my notes, it says an anchor point. And then I drilled a little tiny tether hole in the license plate bracket right in the center, because if it vibrated enough and broke off from the bolts that were holding it to the rear body of the bike, I didn't want it to just fall down. It's like the guy sitting on the tree limb and sawing behind him, and then when the tree limb breaks, where does he go? Down with the branch. I didn't want that to happen, so I made this hole on the part of the bracket that would eventually break if it broke and flap around. And so that's where I did the tether to, and then the anchor was the rear fender. So yeah, and basically I chose too thin a steel to make this bracket out of, because even the bracket is actually like cracking and breaking, like I said, where the weight of the license plate is vibrating every time I'm driving down the highway, and just even little vibrations where that attaches, where that part of the bracket is formed with the 2 little pieces that actually bolt to the fender. It's kind of like a shape of a T, if you could imagine that. And yeah, it's just too much thin gauge. So what I'm going to do is basically remake that, but that's not important for now. What is important is that I made it there. I did this quick mod, got my crap thrown on the bike, raised a hand up to the sky and said, thank you, previous owner, for giving me a janky idea. And as long as it works for a night, just make it home is all I worry about. So almost the entire trip home for the mountain was spent checking my shadow, looking back, and we're hitting some twisty turns. We're not going slow through them. So whenever I got a chance and the sun was right, when it wasn't right behind me, when it was coming from the side, I'd look back at my shadow and then look back before the next corner came because I didn't want to, plummet off a cliff or anything. But I did want to make sure that I could see my license plate hanging back there. So the entire home was spent doing that, and me praying, just make it home, baby, just make it home. I begged and begged. And if it did vibrate enough over those rough ass mountain roads, it would crack all the way through on both bolts. And at this thought, as I'm riding, I just hoped that I had made that not so safety wire short enough that it wouldn't like catch the tire and become a shuriken into my leg, or worse yet, swing around like a pendulum until it finally did catch the tire or get ripped free and drop down into the chain and rear sprocket once I leaned into a corner, probably a righty, lean into a right-hand corner, and this thing drops down into the sprocket because I compressed the suspension and I'm leaning over. So it was a nightmare, but with the body panel and the license plate securely fastened, and with the everything, I safety wire stitched this thing. It looks like Frankenstein. I low-key love it for a Mad Max look. I set about attaching the rear grab handles to the bike. So that means taking off the rear seat cowl that makes it look like a race bike, taking off the seat and attaching the body or the grab handles and all that stuff, bolt and make sure they're very tight, and then putting it back on. So while I was doing this with the body panels and the plate, license plate fastened, I attached the rear grab handles and tightened the battery while I had the seat off, because I think this had more to do with it not starting recently than anything else. I think that battery connections wiggled loose, or when I last connected the new battery and put the battery tender on, I don't know if I tightened it down enough. So I really cranked it down and tightened it. Boom, this baby started up like nothing. So I think part of it was that, because it was hard to start, and then after being hard to start, it wouldn't kick over, or it didn't have enough to crank more than 3 times. And I was like, it shouldn't have killed the battery. Cranking the motor 3 times shouldn't have killed the battery. So I tightened the battery. What I really should do is do a charge test and make sure that it's charging when I have all that on, because the battery's got a battery tender. The battery tender has some fuses. The connections are loose and janky if you don't put everything back in there and tighten it up real good. And that's not going to, A, charge the battery when it's on the tender, and B, charge the battery when you're driving. When you're riding around, the alternator is not going to put enough juice back through those wires. So I got it all done, got the seat back on, and now that the grab handles are on there, I strapped my sleeping bag to the back and took off. So for kit, here's what I want to tell you about my MotoCamping journey, the kit I used, because this always fascinates me that people can ride bicycles across country or up the it's not the transatlantic, it's the one that goes from, I think it's the Divide. I forget what it's called. But it's the Divide, and it goes from the border of Mexico to the border of Canada through the Southwest. And people ride that all the time on bicycles with just very minimal camping gear. If you're camping off your bicycle, you got some small, lightweight stuff. So that's usually the stuff I have for my my kit on my motorcycle. So talking to Wiggins, he's offering me saddlebags, tank bags, Pelican cases, swing arm bags, a stash tube, a rear bag, a front rack, basically another motorcycle as a pack mule just for our one-night trip. I politely refused all of these and reminded him that I survived for over a week in Colombia with just a single backpack pack, and that included some rain gear for those jungle monsoons. And I know I did keep the rain gear in the top box that was on the bike, but that's all that I kept in the top box was the rain gear. You know, one backpack and then just rain gear in the top box. I think I get a pass. So, anyways, so he's like, "Yeah, okay, I get it." So here's what was in my backpack, and I don't even know what he brought in his bags. He brought a bunch of luggage. In my backpack, I had a tent, which is a 2-man tent. I had a sleeping pad, which is a sleeping pad. If you're from Kentucky, you can say sleeping pad like that. You're allowed. I had a sleeping pad, which was inflatable. I had a hoodie because the mountains are cold. I had a hat because my hair is wild. And I had my Vans because I didn't want to walk around the camp and accidentally piss in my riding boots because I knew I was going to be getting shit-faced and drunk that night. Then I almost forgot, but I remembered last minute the toiletries because you got to wash the booze breath out in the morning and maybe put some deodorant on so you don't stink at breakfast. And then some tools. And here's what my toolkit, this is the most important piece. Here's what my toolkit consisted of. Zip ties, latex gloves, a plastic bag, my MicroStart jump pack, even though I didn't think I'd need it and I didn't use it. Given the throaty coyotes, like, you know, non-starting stuff, I didn't want to chance it out there in the middle of nowhere. And so I didn't even end up using it, but I brought it. And more zip ties. So there you go. There's 5 things. Let's see. Zip ties, gloves, plastic bag, and a charge pack. That's it. 4 things in my toolkit. And then I bolted my sleeping bag to the back of the seat on the grab handles. So that's all I brought was just a backpack with those few things in it and a sleeping bag. And guess what? We got along swimmingly. So that, I mean, aside from that, I just had the riding gear. So my riding boots, my jacket, my pants, and my helmet. I mean, and my shin guards that I wear shin and knee guards everywhere because those are the weakest parts of my body. And if those ever got taken off by a truck bumper while I was splitting lanes, I would be so sad. So I do wear like shift, like motocross, like shin guards under my riding pants. So yeah, long story short, that's all I had. You know, the gear I had on, and then that backpack and my sleeping bag, and it was more than enough. Wiggins continued to text me throughout the day to give me his ETA, and I still wasn't sure that I was going to be able to rock and roll by 6 p.m. I know I have a text record and timestamps with all these text messages. I'm sure you don't want to hear it, but I'm just going to tell you that it was getting close. So our buddy Sid texted us the camp spot info at 4:20, right on the dot, bro. It was a good time to get to a camp and enjoy nature in SoCal, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. And I was still meeting. He sent us that text at 4:20, and I was meeting up with Wiggins at a grocery outlet parking lot an hour later. So long story short, I met with Wiggins at the grocery outlet, kind of near his house, just after 5 p.m., a couple clicks after 5. He stocked up on beef jerky and who knows what else, and then we rode out and hit the street. We did hit a gas station before hitting the highway, and then we bailed. And our trip took us. Our destination was east. So where do you go? Just like C6 Steve says, you head west. So we headed west, and we rode up the world famous Highway 2, which is the Angeles Crest Forest highway, and it doesn't go all the way through to Wrightwood, which is basically the town where we were staying. It was like Wrightwood, Guillermo kind of area. So it doesn't go all the way through. There's been the huge fire that just ripped through that destroyed half of Pasadena and almost all the Pacific Palisades in Malibu. That ripped up over the hill right there. And prior to that, like there was a couple fires up there a couple years ago. And it's just crazy. When that stuff happens, it takes them years. There's nobody that uses that road except for like the Forest Service and lonely travelers that are trying to get to the ski resorts and everything over on Wrightwood. So they've had it closed down for a bit. And it hasn't been open even though the road's fine, it hasn't been open for a bit over to Wrightwood. There's just too much going on. And the Wrightwood area suffered a fire last year where it actually burned the ski resort. They turned on their snow blowers, of all things, the snowmakers, and that saved the resort. And some of the upper runs and stuff like that where they don't blow snow, those got consumed. And I think the chairlifts got burned, but luckily the poles are metal and super high. So I don't think it did much damage. There's maybe a wood building, like where the lift operator, and maybe some of that, but I don't think the actual like chairs and the lifts got damaged. So, but I do know it did rip through. There was it was pretty devastating fire that hit up there. I think it was last year, and they were able to save the resort by turning on the snow blowers at the lower elevations. But that whole area, when the fire ripped through there, I love how I said that part twice, by the way. I told you what they did, and then I told you again. I didn't want you to forget, I guess. But another thing I don't want you to forget is that all of those surrounding mountains and the highway to get there was ripped up, and I believe that's why Wrightwood is still closed from the 2. So we rode up the 2, and fire damage and road closures be damned. We dropped down behind Los Angeles into the Antelope Valley area, but we stayed on the mountains. We stayed on the Angeles Forest Highway, worked our way across over to the Wrightwood, Villarmo area, and then shot up the mountain, and it got pretty chilly. I'm not going to lie. It was a little cold once we got up there, but what do you expect? That's where the snow resorts and everything are. So it was a nice day, and we've been having some really mild weather here in Southern California, and so even down here at the base of the mountain, it really hasn't been June and July weather yet. So I'll put it that way. It's been mild. So when I got up there and it was a little bit chilly, I was not surprised. That's why I brought the hoodie. And we got some drinks and beverages, and maybe a little bit too much beverages. And I rode to the campsite. It was 5 minutes away from the food and beverages, but I hadn't eaten all day. And so I rode there my best. Let's just put it that way. It felt spirited, but it was probably not very spirited. But to my brain, it was at that time. So I rode there as responsibly as I could, and we set up camp for the night and proceeded to chat and get our waste on. So what I really like is that they ask you to buy wood from the local area. There's a van or a truck that drives around. Like if it's not the ranger, but it's like the campsite host or something like that. They drive around, and I believe this particular spot that we got, I don't know how he got it reserved, but it was the very last open spot. It's first come, first serve. They're like, he went up to the lodge to get some food and hang out and ask them, and he said, there's like 14 spots open online, and they're like, nope, they're all taken. And they said, there's one. And there was like a minivan circling the parking lot down there by it. And he said, I'll take it. And so they radioed down to one of the rangers who put a tag on it. And we got our spot for the night. But I don't know what we would have done had we ridden all the way up there with camping gear and not got a site for the night. So first come, first serve stuff is kind of sketchy. But it worked out for us. We got the last available spot in the entire camp system up there. And it was beautiful. We just slept under the Big Dipper, dude. It was, I don't know why, probably because I was stoned. But the Big Dipper just looked like it was a light show for me personally, and it was great. And then waking up in the morning wasn't too bad. A little altitude and booze induced migraine action going on, but you always plan for these things. In my toiletries bag was the Pepto-Bismol and the ibuprofen, because you never know which one of those you're going to need when you're out on the road. I bet you our boy Jonny could attest to that. You always got to have your backup feel-good kit, because you don't want to get sick when you're out on the road. But yeah, that was our MotoCamping adventure. Just a quick overnighter, and really good time hanging with the boys, talking and drinking and smoking and doing all the fun jazz. And the ride home, we came back the same way. We came back the 2 rather than heading down the normal way and slabbing it home on the freeway. Nah, we came twisties home, and it was pretty cool. I do have to say, the Sunday the racetrack, as I'll call it. I mean, there was so many bikes going up the hill as we were coming down, and they're all in full leathers, and they're all like, they're doing not the Isle of Man. They're doing like the I guess you would call it the Isle of Man, even though we're not an island. It's maybe more akin to Pikes Peak. They're climbing up the mountain and they're going to drop down the side, and they're just hauling ass, leaning full over. And I was like, all right, guys, like I got a tent on the back here, and I'm not gonna lean that far over. But it's always cool to see what bikes show up there. And there was even a Harley leading one of the packs. So I thought, oh, that's like Zach Nation or somebody up there, like doing it old school. The Harley baggers movement kind of started from these guys that used to rip their dynos around in the canyons and stuff. So it was kind of cool to see an old Harley hanging with some of these sport bike guys, actually leading a pack of them through the hill out there. So that was pretty cool. If you go MotoCamping, or you like MotoCamping and you like recreating, and you don't want your public lands to get shut down, please go and there's multiple different sources that you can find that talk about the public land sales. Please don't let them shut down our access to the wilds. Don't let them shut down access for motorcycles, hunters, all that stuff. We know that when we go out there, we protect the land. We know that we advocate for land use. We know that we don't want things to get ruined and destroyed. And that means that the animals and the people and the habitat that's there doesn't get destroyed either. And it's people like, responsible. I won't say everybody's responsible. Some people go out and trash places. I won't say side-by-side people, because I'm sure there's motorcycle people that do it too. But that there's people that go out and wreck the desert, and there's people that go out and wreck trails, but it's usually not guys on motorcycles, because we just can't carry enough stuff to do it. So we usually advocate for things, maintain things, clean up things when we see it. And if you're, like I said, a hunter, hiker, any of that stuff, I know you do as well, because you want that land to be there for you to enjoy. So please, I had such a great time out there, and I know I've signed a few things saying, hey, don't sell public land, or don't make the lands sell off our lands to people that aren't going to ever let us have them back. So anyways, long story short, let's cut that here and get into our final segment, which is going to be some newses and some other crazy stuff. Stick around for this stinger. I mean, that's all it's going to be, right, Tobor?
I'm not going to pay $10 to go look at rocks.
All right, Tobor, that was better than a stinger. That was a drop, and I loved it. That's good old Mike. I'm going to pay $10 to go look at rocks, because those rocks are at my campsite, homeboy. So with that, hey, let's talk about our weird updates and news and weird little things I've seen. Wrap up the show. We got 20 minutes left. You can do it. You can hang out with me. And then we got some creative writing news. And then we're going to get the hell out of here, Tobor, because we got stuff to do this weekend. And we're getting out of town again. So I wanted to share with you 3 things that I've noticed this week that I just thought was interesting. The first one is the Harley-Davidson tryhards are really pushing stuff lately. Really pushing. And so let me quantify that. The Harley-Davidson tryhards, by that I mean the folks over the Harley-Davidson marketing department, they're hawking everything, man, except for bikes. Like I almost missed the Fatboy Gray Ghost release, because ever since April Fool's, when they did that lawnmower attachment, which actually might become more of a reality now that the average Harley-Davidson owner is beginning to worry more about their lawn care than making bike night, right? That might actually be a real thing soon. But anyways, they're been sending so much stuff out. The Motor Co. really releasing email after email for everything from clothes to coolers, anything else that's Bar and Shield branded. And it's ridiculously insane. And it's got I'm like, is it because it's summertime? But they've been putting out like 5 things a week, which is, I know it could be one a weekday, but it's like every 2 days there's something that comes out and it's like, hey, did you check out the bandanas? I know you looked at the bandanas, right? Did you see the shoes? If you didn't see the shoes, did you see the coolers? We got beer koozies. Do you know we have coolers? Cooler. Speaking of coolers go with barbecues. We knew you got barbecues, right? So yeah, all sorts of stuff that Harley is pushing. And then they drop a gray ghost in the middle of it. And then they come back and tell you they got more swag. But it's like, hey, are you sure that you're cool enough? We got a lot of t-shirts. And then it's like, oh yeah, they're probably cool. Hey, are you sure you got your helmet thing, your DOT do-rag? Because we got plenty of DOT do-rags with Sturgis coming up and all that. And you're like, yeah, I got my DOT do-rag. Oh man, you got your toy? We got Harley toys for kids and for adults. And you're like, dude, I don't need a Harley toy. So long story short, everything, I'm telling you, everything, clothes, coolers, poker chips, you name it. And if you go to Red Rock Harley-Davidson, you can play Magic the Gathering amongst the motorcycles, just like you did when you were 13. So anyways, yeah, Harley-Davidson has just been blasting the old inbox with nothing, like non-news, which is, I'm just like, God, I didn't know. I must have like accidentally signed up for product information because I'm just getting so much, like I said, coolers, hats, shoes, your Harley-Davidson socks. Maybe make sure you get a pacifier for your baby that has a bar and shield on it. All this crap. I don't want to see that. None of that, thank you. The second thing that's on my list, and Tobor, it would have been awesome if you had like a little, I don't know, some weird little noise in here. Okay, that's good. Do it again. All right, yeah, I like that. Yep, stretch my brain. Thank you, Tobor. So I'm going to stretch my brain here and talk about Kawasaki. Yeah, that Kawasaki. The Kawasaki with the Ridge and the Navi and all that fun stuff. Oh, Navi, that's Honda. No. The Nav. The like Nav your neighborhood, bro. It's a E. The Navi is like an E Navigator. What are you talking about? Let me just shut up and talk about the motorcycles. That'd be great. Thank you. Well, Kawasaki, if you don't know, they've opened up 2 more slots in the dual sport market, or should we call it the micro ADV market now? I'm unsure. I really want to call it micro ADV. The 2 bikes that they dropped this week was the KLX 230 Sherpa S and the KLX 230 DF, which why the fuck would you call a bike a DF? What DF? What the fuck? Anyway, these 2 bikes ride in the same ditch as the DRZ 4S, the CRF 300, all the variants from the regular to the S to the Rally, and the XT250. And let's just tack the BMW G310 GS on there because that is a baby micro ADV bike, but that's still as not a dirt bike. BMW does not make dirt bikes, so I feel like that's almost like putting the Versus X300 on there. It's not really a dual sport, but we'll tack the G310 GS on there because we need something from BMW in there. The Sherpa S has a lower seat height, which we know that all the S variants of any Kawasaki technically means recently S is for seat or short. No, yeah, that's right. S is for short. So they put like shorter seat height and might modify the suspension a little bit. And then the DF is their, I don't even know how to call that one. They both look almost identical. Aside from some slight dimensional differences, the Sherpa S and the DF are identical. The 2 pound heavier DF might be because of the luggage rack. So that might be the 2 pounds that's extra. But the DF looks pretty cool. It is not short. And it's a little bit different looking than the Sherpa, mostly in color, also that rear rack. But what's different about it as well? I can't remember if there's that much different about it. But it just might be the luggage rack, and that's the 2 pound difference you see on the spec sheet. Both models might be slightly smaller than the other bikes that I'm comparing them to, except for the XT250, which they're bigger than. Oh no, they are not. They are 230s. So they are smaller than the XT250. They're smaller than everything. But I feel like feature-wise, they are on par with the other offerings, especially if you start looking at the price tags. These are 230s. They are proven 230s. And Kawasaki has some like race 230s. And I don't think they need to be 300 to keep up. to actually do anything that these other bikes do. Because between a 230 and like a 250 and like a 300, you're not going to get like massive power. You're not talking like a 150 versus like an 800 or even a 600. We're talking like 230 to 250 to 300. And I guess we could throw a 390 in there. We'll get to that in a second. But anyways, I just think that they're great. And then yes, it's true they are the smallest thing. I think Yamaha has a TW200, which could kind of count, and that's the only smaller thing than this besides Honda's 150. And Honda's 150 isn't even really a good dual sport. So we're not even going to talk about that as a dual sport. People don't buy Honda 150s to dual sport them. Those are like ranch bikes. So this may be the smallest bike, but it's got some great features. Like I said, the main feature of this thing is the price tag. It's like $5 something for both of these bikes. And if you're looking at like the what's it called? Like the 450s, those start at, the new DRZ 4S, those start at $9, so those are a little pricey. I think the last version started at $7. Those are pricey. The CRF 300s, I think they start around like $5 or $6. The XT250 is pretty cheap. So then these are only like $5,000. And I think the XT, the KLX actually, the KLX 300 and 300 Supermoto, I think they're also right around the same price as this, but they just don't look as trail ready as these do, I guess. So the one thing I noticed too is that both of these have, if I'm not mistaken, these are the bikes that both had. I don't have my like little stat sheet with me, so I'm just going off of what I read earlier. I believe these things both have cross spoke, like tubeless rear wheels, which is cool. I don't know why you wouldn't do it in the front unless you're trying to keep these things at a cost, under $6,000, pretty close to that 5 mark. Maybe a tubeless wheel is pretty expensive, so I don't know. But the rear one they made tubeless, and I'm guessing you'd rather fix a rear tubeless, and you're probably more likely to get like a rear tubeless flat from, hitting casing like a bump or something, hitting casing a bump, roosting through cactus, whatever it is. You can get your front wheel over stuff, but your back wheel has to bang into everything. So that's probably why they made the back wheel tubeless. But that's a cool feature. It's got a bunch of cool, like all the Kawasaki Sears, and they both have ABS that you can turn off the rear, and so it's a really cool little bikes for not a whole lot of money. I think that the features on these are right on par with all those other ones. Even the KTM 390 Enduro R, which I I left off the list because KTM and Bajaj need to figure stuff out first. And also, the 390 Enduro R is like a crazy dirt bike, I think. When you look at it, it's like, oh, you took the street stuff off and took all the pictures, and then your one marketing photo, you have all the street stuff back on. So the 390R, it's cool too. I suppose it belongs on the list with a bunch of dual sports that are going up to 400s. But the last but not least, and we're good timing because we're wrapping up. We're getting on close to 2 hours here. We're wrapping up the show. I don't know if you guys have looked at the new BMW S1000R. We don't talk enough about BMW and Ducati on this show, and we barely ever talk about Triumphs. That's what Two Dudes Talking Motorcycles is for. But yeah, the BMW S1000R, I was admiring it the other day. This thing is a naked bike, like roadster. One of the I was looking at this one and the M1000R and M1000RR. Just this S1000R comes with like a carbon package. The wheels alone both start with the number 3. I can't tell you. I know the front one's a little less, but I can't remember if it was like 3480 or 3420, and the back wheel is 38 something or 36 something. I just know that both of these wheels together are probably over $7,000, which they're 2 wheels for this thing is worth more than the value of the shitbox that I drive around and get groceries in, right? It's pretty amazing. And the price tags on these BMWs are never cease to amaze me, especially these like roadster models. but this one's not the R. You know, there's the R's are still around, and the R models are still like their legacy here. This is like the S. This is like the inline 4. BMW's hand to Pikes Peak's ears. This thing has straight bars, no clip-ons. And if you knew anything about Pikes Peak when they were still letting bikes run, that was part of the conditions. They couldn't have clip-ons because those bikes were just getting faster and faster. Any bike with clip-ons was like a track-only bike, and they was getting so fast that it got too dangerous. And then we found even the non-clip-on ones were too fast. But this bike's got so many little things going on with it. And if you start delving into it and looking at what these S models have, check out the S1000RR, check out the S1000R, even the XR. But if you start looking at the M's, these bikes are incredible. But man, don't get a flat tire. It'll put you in the poorhouse. And if you can afford one of these, then you already know that money is not an option. I have no idea what the maintenance cycles are on these things, but dang, are the prices. It would be fun to do another game. We've done it in the past where I say, hey, is this a price? Is this a part for like a motorcycle or the price of a motorcycle? And yeah, you could definitely do it with any of these, the M or the S models from BMW, and it doesn't even have to be the RR versions. Like this R is ridiculously priced on the old the wheels. But yeah, I just poking around through this vehicle and just looking in detail at all these little things. They're beautiful looking bikes. The way they're crafted to be naked yet aerodynamic at the same time. Like they do have quite a bit of fairings on them for a naked bike, but they don't have like full fairings, like a front cowl they don't have, you know? So like that's the biggest thing of a naked bike. They got side fairings and like radiator covers out the toots, and the seats have all those little things like the Yamaha's R1 has and like the Ducatis have, where like the seats have little like ram winglets on them almost. It's a naked bike. Like, what the heck? How much aero do you expect to be influenced, you know, by the lack of a front? But they do it anyway, and you just start looking at how well these bikes are crafted and put together, and it's just sad. It makes me even sadder when people crash them, and then they're in pieces, and all that R&D went out the door. And the last but not least, we're getting ready to wrap up the show here. Thank you so much for hanging out and checking us out this week. Last but not least, please leave us a review wherever you are listening to this. Just get in touch with us. Did we say the word of the week, by the way, this week? If we did, contact us, because I have a box full of stuff, and I'm looking over there, and it's getting fuller and fuller as I speak. So did we say the word of the week this week? Go back to the beginning and listen for it. Or listen to what it was. Use AI. Throw this podcast in AI and have, or throw the transcript. I don't know. You can usually get transcripts on any podcast service now. Ask me. Did we say it? So that goes to the box of junk. Patreon. If you want to support us on Patreon, go check us out. Patreon.com/creative writing, all one word. And I promise to the Patreon members that I will get these videos made soon. I do have an out-of-town trip that's like a week long, though, and it's not even for fun. It's employment stuff, and so I won't be around to make a video this week to do part 2. And last week I went camping, and so missed my opportunity to do it then. So I'm going to try and get it done as soon as possible. But yeah, don't worry. Part 2 of this fiberglass journey is coming. And then if you have any more suggestions, hey, Junk, I want to learn how to do this. And even if I don't know how, I'll learn it, and we'll do it together on there. And yep, check that out. Also, I mentioned an announcement from Creative Writing at the end here, and here it is. Go to our show notes and look at how to connect with us. Everything's in there. You can buy some merch in there. We have our Patreon, we have our Zazzle, we have our Instagram, we have our Reddit, we have our Discord, we have email addresses. But what we don't have is a Solstice Slam. And that's what I'm going to be announcing here the last few minutes of the show. I decided after having a discourse on is discourse the right word? A dialogue? Yeah, I had a really good dialogue with one of our listeners. I think it was last year's Solstice Slam winner. Actually, I could be wrong about that, but I think it was Josh, last year's Solstice Slam winner. We were having a little chat on Discord, and mentioning movies, and I said, hey, we were mentioning certain movies like Army of Darkness and Evil Dead. I said if Evil Dead was a bike, this isn't quite made up motorcycle like Nokomoto does. This is just like if a movie was a bike, what would it be? Like if I said, hey, Gladiator or Prometheus or anything like that, I'm sure you would have in your brain what bike would be perfect for that. If I said Mad Max, I know you would know because the movie was full of bikes, like Mad Max, The Road Warrior. I don't know if Thunderdome or Fury Road even had bikes in it. So I say, Mad Max, you know exactly what your bike would look like. But this year's Solstice Slam is going to kick off with this. I want you to pick a movie and your bike that you have, dress it up. It's going to be like a cosplay, like this is going to be moto cosplay. You could even dress up too. I don't care. But if does your bike look like something out of Mad Max already? And you're like, yeah, look, my bike is Mad Max. Does your bike look like something out of Terminator? Better yet, if you have a Harley-Davidson Fat Boy Gray Ghost, do me a favor. Don't dress it up like Terminator. That's like going, I'm going to go race a 24 hours of lemons. And then you take a Miata and they're like, you're going to lose, my good man. We like to see, Chrysler LeBarons with 84 mailboxes welded to the roofs. We don't want your, Miata track car out here winning 24 hours of lemons. So if you have a bike from a movie, if you got a live wire and like, look, it's an Avenger bike, I'm going to be like, listen, I want your live wire to be like Yellow Submarine, like do something crazy with it. But that's going to be this year's Solstice Slam. Cosplay motorcycles. What movie, if you're, maybe your favorite movie is Blade. Maybe your favorite movie is The Shaggy DA. No matter what your favorite movie is, do your bike up in that fashion. And then even telling like, hey, this is why I picked this bike, or this is why I think this, my bike does this or that. And if you don't have a bike, or if your bike's in the shop, or like you crashed your bike recently, do me a favor, write a little story about what bike you think would be a good bike and why, and maybe we'll decide to put those in with the submissions, or maybe we'll make a little side pity party participation trophy for you, and I'll send you a bag of Skittles and say, great idea, kid. So anyways, that's going to be this year's Solstice Slam. Think about it, and the summer solstice is coming up pretty soon here, June 21st, if you're in the northern hemisphere. And that's the winter solstice if you're in the southern hemisphere. So it doesn't matter what solstice, but it is the solstice coming up here. So start getting it ready. And then I will give you an end date depending on how many entries start coming in. But it'll probably be next year, because we always get none until I go, oh my God, we're closing it. And then 25 people are like, here's my submission. So, yep, Solstice Slam this year. Cosplay your bike up. What is it? Do you have a white Lambretta and also a Stormtrooper outfit? You know what to do. Do you have a giant Big Bear chopper and a Sasquatch suit that you use to make some videos and fool some young kids online? You know what to do. But you know what to do. You have your own bike, and you know what to do. All right, with that, we're out of here. Thanks for wasting 2 hours of your pathetic, crappy life. Tobor's waving goodbye to all of you. He says bye from the sound booth in there. And we are actually the control room, I guess, huh? We're going to call it a night, and you got to get home, Tobor. I don't know what all these bangs and booms are outside. Are we illegal? Are robots and gross little green guys illegal? We might want to steer clear of ice once we pull out of the parking lot here.
Well, no, hold on. Let's pause, because that's not true at all.
Anyways, y'all take it easy, and talk to you next show. Bye.